title shot, and then Sheamus and Cesaro like cheat to beat them at the end to get themselves more over as heels, but they went the other way. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a booker, so I don't know.
No,
you know,
I'm not either, obviously, because I wouldn't have done that.
I don't know how to wrestle anything.
Maron Mia, that's the thing, right?
I'm no JBL, so I don't know everything about wrestling.
That piece of shit. Let me get started on him. I feel very strongly about JBL. If you watched, what's the name of that? Bring It to the Table?
Bring It to the Table.
The only thing I want to bring to the table is a highlight video of Bart Gunn mollywhopping that hair-parted redneck putz JBL. I have an issue with everything he says on Bring It to the Table. I understand he's pro WWE, but you're going to bash everything aside from WWE, and then you're gonna doo on Sami Zayn. I'm trying to keep it PG because I started at the top. There was a great story that Vince Russo, I think we talked about this last time, about Vince Russo saying that JBL said he could beat everybody in a bar fight and X, Y, and Z, and he's this Johnny Q tough guy. He's not a tough guy, and not only that, but Bringing to the Table is supposed to be a shoot, right? That whole thing is supposed to be quote unquote shooting. It's obviously a worked shoot atmosphere,
right?
But and Rusev, you know who else is on my hit list? Rusev. I'm coming at Rusev too because he was saying some stuff on Twitter about how he was a great wrestler, or somebody was a great wrestler, and then have to spend
Alexa Bliss, yeah, didn't spend 10 years in the Indies or something like that,
right? And yeah, Alexa Bliss can work a sloppily paced bump fest WWE style match, sure, and she didn't have to spend time on the Indies, yeah, and neither did you, Rusev, and not for nothing, Rusev. If you go to the Indies, your work rate is up there with a young PN News. So the problem with that is you couldn't get yourself over on the Indies because when you start at the WWE, you have the WWE hype machine behind you. When you start on the Indies, the only person selling you is you, and it's tougher to get over when you're by yourself. You get over with your work rate, you get over with your work ethic, and you get over with your matches. And that's why people love people like a Kevin Owens, a Seth Rollins, a Samoa Joe, a Sami Zayn, and the list can go on and on and on. It's a lot easier to be brought up throughout the WWE system and be pushed to the moon. You were like a mechanic. Wasn't Rusev the Mechanics? Wasn't he? No, he was with the Mechanic. When he was they were feuding with Enzo and Cass in NXT. I think it was Rusev and... Was
it like, you mean like Dawson or Wilder, one of those guys?
Yeah, I forget who it was, but I think... So, yeah, Rusev started in NXT, or I think it was even FCW back then. And you went through the WWE system, and you learned how to work a WWE-style match, which is fine, and that works for the WWE-style audience, but you put the best Rusev match on... on a PWG card, for example, it's probably going to get booed out of the building. I might be a little harsh, but I just don't think, with that kind of mindset, you can get yourself over somewhere else.
Two things I was just going to mention regarding that. One, last I checked was maybe like a week or so ago. Rusev had open DMs, so I think you should share some of these feelings with him. If you're so inclined,
I'll tweet him right now.
If you're so inclined, I believe he has open DMs on Twitter. So
I'm going to slide right into that.
While you're doing that, the other thing I was going to say, and I don't think I'm the first person to say this, obviously, so it's probably something that some other people think as well. But and I don't think that she's there yet. But Bliss kind of reminds me of Trish Stratus, like when she first started, because like. Stratus she wasn't anywhere. She was like a fitness model, I think, and so was Bliss. She was in like I don't know, like those competitions and stuff like that. And I think that the way that Bliss like does her promos reminds me of Trish. So I don't think that Alexa Bliss is as good as Trish became in the ring. But when Trish was first starting in the ring, like she wasn't that good. Like she was a manager. She had to like figure out how to
TNA, right? Her and Tessa.
Yes, yeah. So it took her a little time, I think, to figure things out and get better in the ring, to the point where like during that era it was like her and I guess Lita like were the best ones that they had, but I think Bliss is like, she reminds me of that, I guess. I don't know if that's meant as a compliment or just a general observation, but that's just kind of how I see like the way that she talks and her character and stuff like that, and she seems to get a pretty good reaction now on every show that she's on.
Yeah, it definitely has nothing to do with her looks, right?
I mean, I think it's a mix of both things for sure.
I just wish, there was a quality where men could get over on their looks, and I just wish it was a little bit different.
I mean, I understand. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I wish I could get over just on my looks alone. But man, I
think
hate this.
I'd be a giant heel, right?
I'd be a manager at that point.
Hate me.
I just have such an issue with these snobs in the WWE kind of consistently bashing the indies, and I understand part of it is because it's their job to get the WWE over. But when you have JBL saying anything that's not WWE is minor leagues, tell that to AJ Styles, who headlined the Tokyo Dome in front of 40,000 or something ridiculous like that. He couldn't get himself over in Japan if he was in a ring with Okada for an hour. The JBL, he doesn't have that kind of work. Johnny Ace could get himself over in Japan, and JBL couldn't. I feel like that's more of a true statement. The problem is you can't, if you grew up, you developed in the WWE, and he's been there since 95, 96? JBL,
yeah,
he was
JBL,
with the Blackjacks, and you team with Barry Windham, and you had a good career in the WWE, but it wasn't because of your in-ring ability, because you stopped watching SmackDown solely because of JBL.
That's true.
Yeah, because he was the champion. Please tell me that story again, where 1 week he was with the Acolytes, and the next week he was getting it.
It was 2004, right? Yeah. Was when that happened. So at the Rumble that year,
right?
He was still Acolyte or APA JBL, even though he changed his look, right? He had cut off the long black hair, and now he had the short blonde hair like he has now. But he was still with the APA, and he was the first man eliminated from the Rumble that year in 2004. He was the first guy out, just an afterthought or whatever. And then legitimately 4 months later, because of the gimmick change, he became the world champion, out of nowhere. It's very similar to me to how they're doing, or in some aspects, to how the Jinder Mahal thing is playing out.
Yeah,
right now.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
He was a jobber. When he was with the company, he got cut.
Enhancement talent.
Oh,
no, actually, JBL, he's a jobber. Yeah, that's right.
When Mahal came back, right, he was just basically losing to everybody left and right. I think on his last match on Raw,
it was Sami Zayn.
Lost to Sami Zayn, I think. And then went over to SmackDown, and then all of a sudden, they decided to push him, and now he's the number one contender because he won a match. And then, of course, beat Sami Zayn a week later, I guess, to get his job back. So, but that's the thing. It's you're pushing him, and they wonder why the ratings are way down and
right.
Stuff. But when you do stuff like that, and you push a guy to the top that no one sees as a credible threat to anything, because you have an India, fan base
increase in the network, right?
Yeah, that's what you want to is that what your business is now based around? Because all those people in the other areas of the world don't want to see Jinder Mahal wrestle an unmotivated Randy Orton in the main event of Backlash. So I don't want to.
I wish there was a fire emoji I could put with that, because I think to say Randy Orton is unmotivated is completely true. But I do agree with what you're saying about Jinder Mahal. I mean, I kind of like what they're doing with the Bollywood Boys and him, because it's kind of making him at least a more credible heel.
Yeah.
But you have so much talent on that roster. It's mind-blowing. You have the U.S. heavyweight title, which would have been a better fit for him, I think. And you could have AJ Styles go after, the heavyweight title.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to JBL, because I want to slap him in public, I think what you said about... But that's Vince like JBL, right? JBL is Vince's guy. And that's why they do what they do. It's not because he deserved it in the ring back then, because he was not... I can't tell you one move JBL did aside from a fallaway slam and a lariat. I don't remember him ever having a match above 3 stars.
No. Yeah, he
was not
that
good.
Run. Yeah, that's that part of that whole run, right? When he was the champion for close to a year. The main events were atrocious, right? It was he fought Mysterio. Undertaker. Yeah, he fought him, Undertaker. He fought. I remember in the pay-per-view before WrestleMania 21, which is where he lost the title to Cena. I think it was No Way Out. He fought Big Show in a barbed wire cage match, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a cage with barbed wire on top, and and that was obviously just terrible because Big Show and now JBL and basically all it was just it turned into a blood fest, I guess, which is fine, but that's not. Yeah, he's not good. It's just not a good situation.
Right, but when you have to do that to cover up for how bad of a wrestler your champion is, that's a problem. It's not like you're watching, IWA Mid-South and that's all they can do. It's because it's all that's on the roster. Back in the day, not now, no offense. But if your champion should have one of two things, should be able to draw money or should be able to work. ideally, in a perfect world, you're able to do both, like a Kevin Owens, a Seth Rollins. Big Show, or an Andre the Giant wasn't the best worker, but could draw money anywhere he went. JBL can do neither. Nobody watched JBL. And nobody went on SmackDown. I was like, man, I can't wait to see what JBL's doing this week. Nobody cared. And he's not going to put on great matches. You look at, there's other examples. You have like a guy like Sami Zayn who can't really talk people into the building much, but he could put on a really good match. You have someone like Bray Wyatt who can talk people anywhere, but his matches are pretty good, but he's not really known for his in-ring work. The Undertaker was a guy that could do both. JBL doesn't stand out as one of those people. And for him to be so condescending of what do you say about Kevin Owens? He kind of then said something about Kevin Owens who spent 10 years in the Indies and because he wasn't ready for that next step. Or like, what are you talking about?
Some of the stuff he said, like I think he said something about Styles, right, that you mentioned earlier, and his point was like, he had done really well everywhere else, like in terms of like the Indies and Japan. To prove himself, but when he came to WWE, that was when we realized that he really was like the best wrestler in the world because he could do it there. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that really qualifies. Like just because you're wrestling there doesn't mean you are. I think he's the best wrestler out there now, but that's not because he's in WWE. I thought that when he was in New Japan too. Like you know what I mean? Like
we thought when he was in TNA. We've known that for however long.
Yeah,
but you can't see now for JB to say best wrestler in the world, not best performer. That's a different story because best wrestler, I agree with him that he is, but he doesn't have to. Nobody has to go to WWE to prove they're the best wrestler in the world. That's right. You go to WWE if you want to prove you're the best sports entertainer in the world. There are plenty of amazing wrestlers in the world that are not in WWE that are better than the wrestlers in WWE. But to have the total package and for AJ to get over on the mic, which really even you and I, huge AJ fans, never really thought he was going to be able to get himself to that next level talking. And he's been able to do that. But you're right, for JBL to say he needed to come to WWE to realize that, it's like, you're a pompous, arrogant, bully douche. That's what I'd say about JBL.
There you go.
And you might just be being a heel. But if that was the case, like if all I ever heard was this about like your persona on TV, I would say you're a heel. But no, you cheap shot at the Blue Meanie. You bullied all these guys in the back, and you got knocked out by Joey Styles and Bart Gunn. So, how does that make you feel? Joey Styles one punch KO'd Bradshaw. They should have put the title on him. I would have watched it more. Man, I'm hot. God,
it's funny. We didn't really think we had much to talk about WWE, right?
Yeah, 30 minutes. I spent bashing JBL.
It's okay.
Just a big loser. How's that, huh?
Yeah.
How's that for my 1988 pro wrestling sign? JBL, just a big loser. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about professional wrestling. Let's talk about Ring of Honor. Let's talk about tomorrow night's War of the Worlds live from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. But before we do that, I want to remind you that we are, as always, brought to you by the Damage 365 Radio Network.
This is former WWE superstar Damian Sandow, now known as Aaron Stevens, and you're listening to Damage 365 Radio. Keep it tuned. You're welcome.
I think that has something to do. He's like almost retired now. I feel like it's because we're playing that on the show.
Well, Ted DiBiase, Lanny, yeah, it probably is.
It's up there, right?
He probably got blackballed.
We're down to Allie now. Poor Allie. I hope she's okay.
She did. Yeah. I'm just gonna. Yeah, you're right. No, probably not. We're just circling the drain now for these people. I apologize. So we got a 9-match card. We'll start at the bottom of the card and we'll work our way up. First match of the night is going to be Bobby Fish versus Dalton Castle versus Kushida versus Silas Young in a 4-way match. It doesn't say there's anything on the line in this match. I don't think it's
doesn't look like it, but
I thought I remember seeing somewhere that winner get some sort of title shot.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. But it doesn't say it on the Wikipedia page that we're looking at right now, so we'll have to inquire within.
Okay, so let's see. Actually, true story. This is a shoot. As we're talking about this, Joe is recording Impact Wrestling on his phone.
I forgot. It's now 10 minutes late, so I'm going to miss the opening Karen
Why don't you set it to record the series?
Because I'm dumb.
Okay.
Well, and now I have half a brain because of the car accident, so...
Your half of a brain and my broken back, that and a pack of Skittles will get us nothing.
It's all right. I just missed probably a Karen Jarrett promo. I'll be fine.
Okay. And later on, speaking of Karen Jarrett promo, we're going to tease a little bit about House Hardcore. How's that for a segue?
There you go.
No, hardcore. Hardcore, yeah. So... Bobby